Hello, my name is Brianna Pina and I am an athletic trainer at Performance Physical Therapy and at North Kingstown High School. Today I am going to be going over a quick 5 to 10 minute warm-up and cool down that you can complete prior and post activities. For today's warm-up and cool down, I have a little bit of a cheat sheet so I can just remember all the exercises. I'll show you the movement and then I'll also perform the movement. For our first movement, we're going to do a quad stretch. That quad stretch is going to look like this. You are going to bring your heel to your butt. We're going to do both legs. This is a dynamic movement, so you want to be moving. So I'll show you what it would look like. This is a stretch that you want to do for a distance of about 15 to 20 feet. And then to elevate the heart rate, you would lightly jog back to your starting point. Our next movement is going to consist of toe touches. So what you're going to do for a toe touch is you're going to put your heel up on one leg. For this example, it's going to be my left. I'm going to slightly bend my right knee, and I'm just going to bend down and touch my toes. This is a good stretch for hamstrings and for calves. Again, this is going to be a movement that you want to do as a dynamic movement, so you want to do it moving. So it would look like this. During each movement, I'm going to be taking a couple of steps in between each stretch. This is something that I prefer. However, you don't need to take the steps. The next movement that I'm going to perform is a straight leg hamstring stretch. Straight leg hamstring stretch, I'm just going to have exactly that. My legs are going to be straight. I'm just going to bend down and touch my toes. This again is going to be a dynamic movement. However, if you cannot touch your toes, I'll show you from the side. If you cannot touch your toes without bending your knees, it is acceptable to bend your knees because you'll still get a stretch in the upper hamstrings. So it'll look like this. Again, this is a movement that I am going to take a couple of steps in between each stretch. The next dynamic movement that I'm going to do is going to be a knee to chest. Just like this, you're grabbing just below your kneecap. You're not grabbing your kneecap. You're grabbing just below your kneecap and gently pulling your knee as close to your chest as you can. This is going to get a little bit of the glute muscles and the hamstring muscles. Again, this would be something you would perform dynamically, looking like this. The next stretch that I'm going to perform, focusing on my glute muscles, is going to be a figure 4 stretch. So it can be performed multiple different ways. For example, with one leg on top of the other thigh, and just doing like a little bit of a mini squat down. Or it can be performed lifting this leg, grabbing just below that knee and the ankle bone and pulling up. Whichever is comfortable for you is preferred. For me, I prefer to do just a little bit of a squat. I feel like I can get a little bit more of a stretch. That'll look like the next movement is going to be a little bit of a hip flexor stretch, and then we're also going to tie in a whole stretch on the side. So what you're going to do is you're going to lunge forward, bend that front knee, and then drop that opposite leg, and you're just going to lean into this stretch. So that will look like this. To add a little bit of a side stretch, you can always just bring the arm overhead. So it'll be a motion like this. You're in your hip flexor stretch motion. The same side of the leg that is back, that arm goes up, and just gently bend to the side. The next movement is going to stretch the inside of your thighs. It's going to be a side lunge, but you're not going to go into a full lunge, just a partial lunge. So you feel a nice stretch on the inside there. You can do both sides, and this would be a walking one where you go like this, and then you would rotate to get that other leg, or you can just go side to side like so, holding each stretch for a couple of seconds. Next movement is going to be opening and closing the gait. This helps open up the hips to get them ready for either your run, jumping activities, any sporting activities that involve your lower body. So this would look like you're going to bring one leg up, out, back down to open the gait, and then to close the gait, you're just going to do the opposite of what you just did. So you're going to bring that leg out to the side, forward, and back down. This is, again, one that you could do moving. It would look like this. So for our next stretch, it's going to help incorporate upper body. We're just going to do a little bit of a spider lunge. It's going to help activate the core, loosen the hips, and help loosen up the shoulder blades a little bit. So a spider lunge, I'm going to show you what this looks like from the side. So this is how I would start to get into the position. This one, you're not moving forward. You're going to just stay stationary, but you're moving within your area. So you're going to be in a half kneel position. You're going to put your left hand on the ground, your right hand on the ground. That left leg is going to be just outside that left hand. We're going to pick our right knee up. This is helping opening those hips, putting some pressure into your shoulder blades. In order to complete a reach for this movement, all you're going to do is just apply some pressure to that right hand, and you're just going to open up that left side. So our next movement is going to incorporate our upper body. This is called an inchworm. What you're going to do, I'll show you from the side. This movement could be a walking movement. It does not have to be. It can also be a stationary movement. This movement's going to include walking your hands down to the ground, walking them out until you're in a nice plank position, and then walking your feet up. If you want to stay within the same 6 feet, roughly 6 feet, you can walk your hands down, leave your legs where they are, and just walk your hands back up. Okay, the next movement is going to be called, some call it a toy soldier, some call it Frankenstein's. You're going to have your arms out in front of you, and you're just going to lift one leg at a time to the opposite hand. So from the side, it looks like this is going to be a dynamic movement. This is one that you're going to want to walk with. The next movement, to kind of get the quads heated, the hamstrings heated, the calves heated, you want to do a butt kick. So a butt kick is just bringing up your heel to your butt. You want to do this one slowly. You don't want it to be rapid fire. So it'll look like this. This is a great movement to help get the heart rate elevated. The next movement that I'm going to show you is going to be skips. You're just going to bring your knees up with a little bit of a bounce. So it'll look like this. Finally, the last stretch is going to be high knees, which is similar to a skip, but a skip is a little bit slower. High knees are going to be performed a little bit faster. So they'll look like this. So that concludes our warm-up. Next, I'll show you a quick cool down that you can do post-activity. Dynamic movements that you want to do post-run or post any activity are always going to include, especially post-run, the lower body. So you want to focus in on your quads and your hip flexors, your hamstrings and your calves, and also your glute muscles. So the stretches that you would use for your hamstrings, calves, and quads are going to be the same from the warm-up as the dynamic movement. So your quick quad stretch, your quick toe touches, and then your straight leg hamstring stretch. Those you want to do moving to help decelerate the heart rate. Take them slow. So a post-run might look a little bit slower. I might hold this stretch a little bit longer than I would for my warm-up, because post-run my legs usually feel like jelly. So again, for your cool down, a great stretch to perform for the glutes and the hips and the upper body to kind of open everything back up and relax everything at the same time is going to be your spider lunge. So where that foot is on the outside again, your hands are on the inside of, my right hand is on that inside of the right foot. I'm going to lift that back knee. I'm going to open up as much as I can that's comfortable for me and my body. My final advice, my final tip for a cool down is to activate those calves, stretch out the calves post-run. This is one that you want to use a wall, telephone pole, mailbox post for. What I'm going to do is use the side of the garage here. I'm going to put my foot at an incline, and then I'm just going to gently lean into the wall. And that's a great calf stretch. For your cool down, if it's not a dynamic movement, such as the quad, the hamstrings, and the calf stretches that I showed you prior, you want to hold all static movements for about 30 seconds, and you want to perform them 3 times. Thank you for your time, and best of luck during your activities.